I wanted to come back on because I went live earlier today and I wanted to go live to where I could actually talk to you guys, where you would be in the meeting with me and I could talk to you. And I tried a new place tonight that I thought I could do it, but it didn't work. So kind of distracted me from some of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight. So I wanted to add in one of the other things that I wanted to talk to you guys about, which is your soul worth. And that has a lot to do with healing. It has a lot to do with when you really start to heal on a soul level, one of the things that you learn is that you have this infinite worth and that it's a worth that nobody can take from you. And why do you have this infinite worth? Because you are a soul. You are a soul from source. Okay? You come from source. And there's only one source. So there's a lot of people that have a lot of views out there. There's a lot of arguing. There's a lot of misperceptions. But the truth of the matter is that if you look at all of the Bibles, um, all the different versions of the Bibles that are out there, there is only one source. There's only one source. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that, because the Bible talks about Satan and it talks about the devil, right? Nowhere in there does it say that we come from the devil, that we come from Satan, or we come from hell. It only says that we come from source. There's only one place that we come from. And we all come from the same source. All of us come from the same source. Okay? So when I was on earlier tonight, I was a little distracted. I have distracted by the new platform because I wanted to be able to see you guys and talk to you like face to face in person. And then I was distracted because I have some extra children in my home tonight. So one of the things I didn't get to talk about was this soul worth. So C.S. Lewis made this quote a long time ago that you are not your body, you are a soul. You are not a human trying to have a spiritual experience, trying to bring God to you, trying to find God or find Jesus or find Allah or trying to have this big spiritual experience. That's not who you actually are. I think all of us start out that way, don't we? We all start out thinking that we need to get closer to God or we need to bring God into our life or Jesus into our life, and that's kind of what we need to do, or the purpose is that we need to become more spiritual. We need to, you know, read the Bible or go to church. And um, it's not that you can't do those things, you can, but that's not actually the purpose of us being here. That's not actually why we are here. We're actually here as souls to have a human experience. Okay? So the C.S. Lewis said that you are not a body, you are a soul. So the other quote that people repeat a lot, especially in the spiritual uh, realm, is that you are not, how does it go? You're not a human here having a spiritual experience. You're a soul having a human experience. That's the actual quote that goes around. And it's very true. Well, I think that we need spiritualism. And spiritualism is not religion, right? Religion is following the rules. It's the dogma. It's the you can't wear jeans, or you can't listen to music, or you you can't have any relations until you're married. It's all the rules. It's the dogma. That's religion. That's a group that's following all these rules in order to be good or to be saved. But if you really look at it from a young age, none of that ever really made sense to me. I couldn't figure out, as a young child, how I was bad. I just didn't feel like I was bad. So none of it ever made any sense. And, um, that I was going to go to this place and burn and be in hell for the rest of my life. That just didn't make sense to me. If I did something wrong, or I stole this like pack of gum, and I know that it's bad to steal, but I steal this pack of gum and I'm going to go to hell for it. It just never made sense to me. Um, I don't see our God that way. And actually, Deepak Chopra has a whole book and a whole CD series that's called To Know God or Knowing God. And in there, he explains how our thinking is how we've evolved over time as this very like harsh thinking, and how God has evolved as we have. So back in the day, there's so many rules and regulations, and that's how God was. God was something to be feared. He was something that you better behave. Um, and then we added in this salvation part as our society kind of lightened up. And then if you've noticed, especially in the last few years, there's much more of a consensus that God is actually a loving God, that he's not so much of a punishing God, that he's more of a loving God. He's all loving. And that's kind of how I see God, and how I see myself and my soul worth, as worth something of all love, of all love, all compassion. Okay. Now, does that mean that you don't do good? No, that doesn't mean that you don't do good things. Does that mean that I can just do anything wrong that I want to do? And no, that doesn't mean that. But you need to understand that as a soul, you have infinite worth. And as a soul, you are worthy of infinite love. And we all come from that source of love, that source that creates everything. So what happens is when you come down, you get the veil over you, over your over your third eye, over you. They call it the veil. So you forget who you are. You forget your innate worth. You forget that you are this ultimate child of God that is worthy of everything. And you're born into this family, and then this family has these dynamics, has these things going on. And most of us don't grow up in these super happy, loving families. Most of us grow up in these dysfunctional families, families where there's not a lot of love, there's not a lot of support, where we don't hear, thank you, I love you, you're great, you're awesome. We don't hear that a lot. So between coming here and having the veils come over us, and then the families that we grow up in, we forget that we have this infinite worth as a soul. We forget that there's no way as a child of God for us to not be worthy. So as you're on this spiritual journey, you know, being this human, and you're on this spiritual journey to figure out who you really are. That's really what the journey is to remember that you are a child of God with infinite worth. That's really ultimately the goal. And once you figure that out, the second part of the goal comes in. The second part of the goal is learning to spread that knowledge, spread that love, that unconditional acceptance. So that becomes the second part of that. Also becomes tied to your purpose, whatever your soul purpose is. Now, the soul purpose for everybody is different. Okay, so you could have a soul purpose of loving animals. That could be your soul purpose. You might be somebody that's here to take care of plants. You might be here that somebody that is to do computer things, or maybe you're just the worker bee. That's part of your purpose. Everybody has a purpose, but normally, um, once you find your soul worth, if you're on in this group and you're on this page, it is because you have a bigger soul purpose than just being that factory worker or whatever. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you're in this group, you have a bigger soul purpose because you're seeking, you're wanting to figure out, what am I here for? What is the point of all of this? The point of all of this is to remember that you are an infinite soul that is worthy of ultimate, unlimited, unconditional love. That is what you're here for, is to remember that. Okay? Once you start to figure out that you are a soul and that you have infinite worth, then the job becomes to spread that knowledge, to spread that love, to spread that wisdom to whoever you can. So when I was in my journey, when I was figuring out that, how do I heal myself inside? How do I do this? The first thing that I started to understand is that, I am a soul. So if I am a soul, then I'm more than just this human body. And if I am a soul, then I'm also more than the events, the stories, the situations, the happenings in my life. I'm more than those. That those are part of me, they do mold me, but that's not the totality of me. There's much more to me than that. There's much more purpose to me than that. And that I can take those things, and they don't have to be things that destroy me. They don't have to be things that hurt me anymore. They don't have to be things that bring me down anymore. I can use those as reasons to grow, as reasons to heal. I can use those as learning lessons, right? I can take these things and I can understand, oh, okay, so, I'm going through my day and I have all these depressive, sad thoughts, and it's because I grew up in this environment that was not so, loving, not so kind, not so caring. But that's okay, because see, you have to learn to flip it. But this is one of the keys to the soul healing, is you have to understand that you had these bad experiences, these bad situations, these bad events, these bad things happen in your life. You had these things happen because they were meant to teach you. They were meant to bring you to this point that you're at today, right? If I had not had all that bad stuff that was in my life in the past, I would not be where I am today. I would not know what I know. I would have not have had all that knowledge. I would have not. So I had to have those things happen in order to reach this point. So when you start to take those bad things that have happened in your past, like any of the abuse that you've went through, the struggles that you went through, maybe deaths, maybe sudden deaths, things like that that you've went through. When you start to take those and you start to flip those, and you start to pull the good out of the bad, that is when you start to really do that soul healing. That's when things start to really turn around. You start to find the purpose, the meaning, that it makes sense. Like, oh, okay, I get why all of this had to happen. So, like, I was talking to somebody the other day, and part of my soul purpose is to help others heal. Well, if I'm really going to help other people heal, then I have to have gone through all of these abusive situations. Otherwise, I can't really help other people because I can't really understand. I can't really understand. So I can tell you, all day that I understand that, oh, maybe I get it. That's really bad. I'm so sad that that happened to you. But when I myself have went through abuse, I get it. I really get it. I really do understand. And I do know that you can heal from it. I do know that you can move past it. We can move you past that. Okay, because I've done it myself. So, um, as I've told you guys, in my childhood it was very rough. My dad was very angry. There was a lot of yelling. There was a lot of anger, a lot of hitting. Basically, we didn't know when he was going to be angry. We didn't know um, when the anger was going to happen. It was just very kind of random. And so when you grow up in that environment, um, everything's on edge. Nothing is really kind of safe. You never kind of get that safeness. But because I lived in that environment, I now can relate to other people that come from that environment. I understand where their anxiety comes from. I understand where their sadness comes from. So that is a good that comes out of the bad. So you have to flip it. It's not that I want people to go through the bad. It's not that I want people to have bad childhood. But if you have been in that situation, then you get it. And you can use that to help other people, to understand other people, to have compassion for other people, right? So the other thing that it taught me is because I never knew when things were going to explode in my household, I had to judge things from a distance, which primed me for the psychic ability that I have. So I have a psychic ability. I've had it. I can read situations, people from a distance, but I had to have that schooling. I had to have that kind of playground laying there. That had to be the basis. That had to be the bottom line. The environment that I lived in, I had to have that environment so that, basically I was in psychic school my whole life because I grew up in this environment where nothing was really safe. And I had to judge, I had to read the energy and decide for myself if this was a safe environment or if I needed to go the other way, turn and go the other way. Okay. So I am not angry at that anymore. I have no anger for that because I have found the peace in it. So whatever it is that you have went through in your life, this is what I want you to do, okay? To start your soul healing. I want you to find some of the blessings in the chaos. And I get it. Some situations it's really, really hard to do that. So I had somebody at one point that I was working with that I was talking to, and they were talking about some like molestation in their family that had happened. And they were saying the obvious statement to me, like, well, how could anything good ever come out of that? And I said, well, but when it now comes to your children, yeah, we had the same upbringing. When it comes to your children, because of this situation that had happened in their past, now with their children, I said, now with your children, were you super cautious about that? And they said, yes, they were super cautious about it. And I said, and then they went on to tell me that one of their one of their children's friends, they kind of got a sense that something was happening to that child. And they ended up saying something to that child's mom, like, I think something kind of funny is going on. I said, but how did you know that? How did you sense that? And she said, well, because I went through it. I said, exactly. I said, so that's another good that came out of this. Number one, was it good that you had that experience? No, it was not a good thing that you had that experience, but we can pull the good out of the bad. We can pull the good out of the bad. So because of that happening, you were more cautious with your children, right? You were more protective with your children and made sure that you kind of had your eyes open and you were watching, making sure things like that didn't happen. The next thing is that when you kind of sensed that it was happening with somebody else, you told somebody for that child. So you wouldn't have been able to do that if you had not had that experience. So you, in essence, saved this child. But if you had not had that experience, you wouldn't have known to do that. You wouldn't have known to watch out for it. You wouldn't have been sensitive to it. This is how you pull the good out of the bad. Okay, so when you have struggles in your past and you want to get over them, what you have to do is you have to find the blessings in disguise. You have to find the good in it somehow, some way. So, for example, when my brother committed suicide, and 5 days ago now, it's been 18 years ago, my brother committed suicide. And
I couldn't find obviously, any positives that would come out of that. I just couldn't find any. It was just insanely painful and crazy. And uh, I didn't I didn't move for 3 days straight, and I really didn't do anything in my life for at least 3 months. I would go into work and I would walk into my work and walk around and I would walk out and just go back home and go back to bed. Like I didn't do anything for months on end when my brother committed suicide. Couldn't find anything good out of that situation, anything positive at all. And I ended up calling one of my friends and telling her, I think I'm going crazy. Like I'm seriously going crazy. I can't do this. And she told me, you're not going crazy. That what I was experiencing was normal. It's called grief. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. This is not normal. I am seriously going crazy. I am losing it. And she said, you have to find the gifts in the bad. You have to pull the blessings out of this. And I remember at that time, I thought that was the most insane thing to say. That was the most insane thing. But I knew this friend, and I'm still friends with her today. Still very blessed to have her in my life. I knew her, and I knew that she knew what she was talking about, and I knew that I could trust her. So I did. I started looking for the blessings that were in disguise. And what I found was that after that, my family, we made sure to say, I love you. We made sure to pay attention a little closer. Um, we make sure to do our family dinners, and we make sure that we're kind of watching each other and watching out for each other. So there are blessings in disguise. So I promise you, whatever it is that you went through, try to find something good in that. Try to find something you can pull out of it. Okay? There's many people that um, part of their mission comes out of the bad that they have went through in their life. So whether it be, um, some people, they reach out to the kids and they work with kids more, or they volunteer with kids, or some people will do the animal thing. There is something in all of that bad that you can use towards the good. Okay? So that's one of the ways that you can heal from your past. And the other thing that I wanted to go over tonight that I didn't talk about was not just learning that you have infinite worth as a soul because you are part of God. So, you're part of Source, right? And here's the way that I started looking at this. If I am part of Source, if Source is in me, if God is in me and I'm part of Him, then I have to have infinite worth. I have to have infinite worth then because He's in me. And God doesn't not have worth, right? Does God ever not have worth? Is He ever less than? He's never less than. And if He is in me and I am His child and I'm part of Him, literally part of Him, then I have to have infinite worth, right? So that is, I wanted to talk about the infinite worth. I also wanted to talk about the healing and finding the good in the bad. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk to people about is learning. Uh, how do I explain this? That um, when learning to start to accept, like that, when the bad things come in your life, you want to, instead of getting upset and jumping on the bandwagon that I am worthless or that this is horrible or I can't deal with this, I want you to start to, when it happens, I want you to start to just take that pause, take that break, take that breath, just step back from it for a second. Because a lot of us, what we do when we're dealing with stress is we react too quickly. Okay? We react too quickly and we instantly think things are bad. Now, again, we don't always just jump instantly to how do I switch it and how do I pull the good out of it. But if you can learn to just take a moment and to realize, so
remember what I said earlier about how I had this bad childhood where my dad was very explosive. He was very angry. He was beating things all the time. And I love my dad. I don't want you to think that I don't love my dad. I do. And I do have a lot of respect for him. He was just an angry person. But just like I had to have those events so that I could end up being who I am, a lot of the bad things that you're going through today are going to end up the same way. They're going to end up the same thing. Okay, so if when things happen in your life, if you can, instead of instantly thinking, oh my God, why is this happening to me again? This is so bad. Think, wonder what this is for. I wonder what I'm supposed to learn out of this. And just kind of take that step back and kind of let things just kind of flow for a minute. Let them just kind of ride out and see where it leads you. See what happens. But know, just like I had to go through that abuse to end up where I am today, just know that for some reason, the universe is playing this out. For some reason, this situation has come up. For some reason, this is happening, and it's going to be worth it in the end. It will be okay in the end. Things will work out in the end. It will work out. And a lot of times when we look back, we go, oh, okay, so I see now that that had to happen so that that could happen, so that this could happen, right? When we're in the mix of it, we don't really see it. And it doesn't feel that way, and it feels bad, and it feels like things are being done to us. Things are not being done to you. Okay, life is just happening. It's just happening. It's just life. But when things are bad, if you can learn to take that step back and go, okay, well, I'm sure there's a reason for this. I don't know what the reason is, but I'm sure there's a reason. You start to have faith, and you start to not feel so much like the victim. Okay, and then once you get past that little hump of, okay, it's happened, I need to take that breath and take a step back, then you can start to say, okay, what's the purpose of this? What are the things I can pull out of this? What can I learn from this? Because when it comes to karma, the faster you can learn the lesson, the faster the lesson quits coming back. Okay? The faster you learn the lesson, the faster it quits coming back. And the faster you can step into peace, then, not peace, the faster you step into acceptance, then you have peace. Okay? Acceptance means this bad thing has happened. I don't like it, but it's happened. It is what it is. So the faster you can move yourself into acceptance is the faster you can have peace. And that's what we're all after. We all just want to be peaceful. We all just want to be calm. We all just want to be serene. Okay? So the faster that you can accept what's happened, what is, and know there's a purpose, there's a reason, move into acceptance, then you have peace. That's the key to having peace, is acceptance. It is the absolute key to having peace, is acceptance. Okay? So I wanted to jump back on here because I wanted to make sure that I explain to you guys that you as a soul have infinite worth because you are from Source. Source has infinite worth. Therefore, you have infinite worth. Everything that you have went through is for you to learn and to grow. Okay? It is for you to learn and to grow. And I want you to know that. I want you to know that there's nothing in your history that you have done or you have went through that decreases your worth. We are all worthy. We're just all on different paths and all have different things that we've experienced. So again, I want you guys absolutely to reach out to me if you have questions, if you want to know things. I want you to put it in the chat. I want you to put in the comments in the group. Hey, how do I deal with low self-esteem? How do I deal with anger? How do I deal with being mad at my sister? How do I deal with this? I want you guys to put these things in the group. I want you to ask me these questions. How do I deal? How do I cope? Okay? And then I can do a talk on them or I can just answer them back in the group. So I don't know You guys also need to let me know if you want to do like some energy work or some card work. And then I will be back next Tuesday at 7. See you guys.